In the same vein, the book is a collection of fiery articles. The author illustrates that there is a bomb about to explode, and the fuse has already been lit. The remaining articles then highlight various issues, including how an Islamic rule can be established in the current conditions we live in. Even if a modern Islamic ruler came and tried to gradually and gently take matters into his own hands, would the hardline advocates be satisfied with him? The book also emphasizes the power of words, where the author states, "Do not underestimate words. A word is like a bullet that cannot be retrieved once fired." The biggest proof of this is that we have not cared about the media and its words. Furthermore, Dr. Mustafa Mahmoud confirms that the liberation of the peoples that the Western countries called for is nothing but a game and a trick to deceive the masses. 1. A bomb about to explode. I have been in London for 10 years. All the streets were covered with large banners advertising the lectures of the Indian spiritual and Sufaili Damashi. Young people flocked to these lectures with the same thirst they had for football stadiums, and they grew their beards and nails, and hung the rosaries around their necks. We heard about the new prophet Moon and what he did in Europe, and we heard about the other black prophet, Elijah Muhammad, who gathered around him a sect of the strongest Islamic sects in America. Every time we saw a man appear as a preacher to Allah, thousands of young people gathered around him, following him with the obedience and innocence of children. Technology alone has failed to be the goal of life. Material civilization failed to provide the alternative pulpit for the mosque and church. Marxism failed the application test, revealing its weaknesses and gaps, and lost the glitter that attracted young people to it. Traditional religious men, such as priests and sheikhs, failed to address the new generations, leaving the door open for any extremist leadership led by any masked devil who is fluent in the magical language spoken by the people of God. This devil is usually one of the magnetic forces that have a powerful influence. Sometimes I feel that there is a religious time bomb under our feet, and the fire is roaming in the fuse, and the bomb is about to explode. We need someone to direct this religious enthusiasm, to bring about reform, not waves of new crimes. The line between the people of God and the people of the devil is always very thin, especially when the people of the devil wear religious cloak, take the Quran and the gospel as their slogan, and twist the call to Allah, virtue, and piety. The differences always in that sharp tone and the tendency towards fanaticism. 2. Religious void among youth. Every day we hear news of riots and protests happening here and there. What catches our attention is that the raised slogans are religious ones, sometimes backed by Soviet money. They burn down institutions and cinemas and kill children, elderly and women, in the name of religion, which is alarming. Cinema is a neutral, scientific tool, like oil, steam, atomic energy, and electricity, which can be used for good or evil. A movie can be a call for truth, goodness and beauty, or it can be a call for decadence. Neither cinemas nor filmmakers are to blame, but the fault lies with the cunning minds and ideologies that use these tools for destruction. The Soviets were the first to use cinema to demolish religious ideas and spread materialism throughout the world. The spiritual void is the missing link that has led the youth to these suicidal explosions and is behind every criminal or aggressive extremism, drug addiction, escape, and alienation. They are always young, people lacking purpose and aim, and the tyrannical leaders like Hitler, Stalin, Marx, and before them, the leaders of extremist groups like the Khawarij, Karamita, Takfir and Hijra, and the Jonestown community, succeeded with their followers because they provided them with a false connection, an alternative temple to the mosque or church, and a Sikh belief to replace true faith, and a goal that uses youthful energy, directs and occupies the free time of enthusiasts. In the face of these explosions, happening everywhere, analgesics and partial treatments are no longer useful. Temporary surgeries are no longer effective, and in a world that has reverted to a fierce ignorance and returned as an atheist, materialistic, we must start with it from scratch, from the religious alphabet, from the essential issue, which is the existence of God. This is because atheism and materialism reject the existence of a supreme being or any form of spiritual reality. Therefore, to rebuild a belief system, one must first address the fundamental question of whether or not God exists. There are several philosophical arguments for the existence of God, such as the cosmological argument, the teleological argument, and the moral argument. These arguments propose that the existence of the universe, the complexity and order of nature, and the existence of objective moral values all point towards the existence of a divine creator. However, there are also counter-arguments to these philosophical arguments, as well as scientific arguments against the existence of God, such as the problem of evil and the theory of evolution. These arguments propose that the existence of suffering and evil in the world, as well as the scientific explanation for the diversity of life on Earth, make it unlikely that a God exists. Ultimately, the question of whether or not God exists is a deeply personal and subjective one, influenced by one's upbringing, experiences, and worldview. It is a question that each individual must answer for themselves based on their own beliefs, values, and understanding of the world around them.
I kindly request that you click on the like and subscribe buttons, as well as leave a comment on the video so that we can improve the content quality. Don't forget to hit the bell button to receive notifications for new content. This is the Moel de Will channel. And of course, please support us by listening to our podcast. Thank you very much, everyone.
3. How to apply Islamic rule. The religious sense never leaves a person, even at the height of their decadence. This is always the case in a country that has known God and built temples for him for 7,000 years. You won't find a single true infidel there, but rather people of neglect, passion, and worldliness. Our era, which we live in today, is an era of neglect, preoccupation, worries, interests, desires that take people into whirlpools. But in the heart and in the core, there remains a thirst, a longing, and a sadness for something lost. Do you think that an Islamic rule can be established in these circumstances? A rule like that of Omar ibn al-Khattab, or bin Abdulaziz? And can such rule be established without complete adaptation to this era, and without an iron terror that uses violence to uproot habits that have become entrenched in people's minds and have become like the air they breathe? Even if a modern Islamic ruler came and tried to take things gradually, with affection and compassion, would the extremists be satisfied with him? Won't they accuse him of laxity and innovation? Then won't everyone split into factions that accuse each other and kill each other? We live in an ignorant, materialistic era, with its institutions, organizations, and customs far removed from spiritualities and spiritual approaches. This era cannot be overturned into an Islamic era in 24 hours by simply launching slogans. Even if each of us spent time mending ourselves and striving to correct our flaws, we would gain our lives and make something better than calling for fruit before it is ripe. God says to Jesus in a holy hadith, "O Jesus, admonish yourself. If you have learned, then admonish others, and if not, then abstain from me." Thus, God teaches us in this gradual legislative approach that correcting established corruption cannot be achieved except with compassion and gradation, and cannot come all at once. I see that the possible stage now is to fix yourself first, then fix your family, then be a tongue of truth, and a call for good in society. And that's how Islamic rule can start.
Suicide between the far right and the far left. The American actor Gib Young killed his wife and then killed himself by shooting. The French actor Charles Boyer committed suicide, as did his wife and son. The famous seductress Marilyn Monroe killed herself with sleeping pills. Susan Hayward destroyed her life with alcohol. Alan Dillon destroyed his life with drugs. Anna Godner does not wake up from drunkenness. Marlene Dietrich was afflicted with kleptomania, and Greta Garbo was afflicted with disappearance. The stars are not envied for their wealth, fame and popularity. It is a costly profession that costs them their lives, their world and their hereafter, and then nothing remains of them. Just as suicide can result from an extreme materialistic life, it can also result from extreme religiosity. What? Christ commanded to kill the soul, and Christ's intention was of course to kill desires, can lead the extremist to Hashemite monasticism or to killing. He commits suicide, as did Father Jim Jones and his sect in the Sermon of Mass Suicide, repeating Christ's verse, "And whoever kills himself for my sake will find it." Extremists from the right and left, from religion and the world, are in fact followers of one principle, and they stand on one ground no matter how different they imagine themselves to be. That land is the land of complete rejection and disbelief in everything, and this complete rejection can be represented in killing others or killing oneself, and the lifeboat from these evils is moderation, and the true understanding of virtue as being the just middle between contradictions. It cannot be excessiveness, nor can it be negligence, nor can it be strictness, nor can it be extravagance, but it is always the just middle, which is courage and generosity, which is the middle between the seductress genocide of the right wing people and the suicide of the left wing people.
أرجو أن تضغطوا على زر الإعجاب والاشتراك في القناة والتعليق على الفيديو لنتمكن من تحسين جودة المحتوى، واضغط على زر الجرس ليصلك كل جديد. قناة مو طويل. وبالطبع لا تنسوا دعمنا عن طريق الاستماع إلى البودكاست الخاص بنا. شكرا جزيلا لكم جميعا.
5. The magic of words. We often underestimate the power of words and the different factions they can create. Wasn't Hitler just words? Did he not push Germany towards madness and greatness? Was it not because of him, Goebbels, his horns, and the crazy youth who listened to him that Europe was set ablaze, causing death and destruction to millions? Were we not captives of speech during the 20-year reign of Nasser? We fought in Yemen and Congo and shouted for Egyptian Russian friendship while cursing Faisal and American imperialist reactionaries. Did not Yusuf al-Sabai kill just because his mind was filled with words? Does not talk of lovely men to their wrestling bones? Does it not throw young people into despair and suicide? Words have the most impact on both the individual and the world. This happened in the distant past when a tribe from Quraysh fought against the Romans and the Persians and defeated both. They did so with a book, the Quran, which they carried from the Persian shores to the Atlantic. Falsehood disappears with its own noise, leaving nothing behind. Hitler did the same, and so did the Nazis, as did the armies of the Tatars and the Hyksos, and so did the invasions of Nasser. Islam, on the other hand, remains on the ground even after its people were defeated. It remains until the hour is established, despite the weakness and backwardness that affected its people and nations. It's all about words, the magic of words and the power of words. Words, even false ones, can do, influence, kill, and change history. Words are explosive devices, made up of letters that God has given the power to influence and change.
6. The game of liberating peoples. Stalin used the Marxist banner to claim that he was liberating the people from hunger and that freedom meant finding food for everyone and that he would provide it for the people. No one was allowed to object or protest, and anyone who did was a saboteur, a reactionary, and his punishment was execution, imprisonment, or displacement. In this way, he claimed to be liberating people. But this is just a game played by the leaders of the world. The slogans of liberation, progress, and democracy are merely a mask to cover up their true intentions, which are to control and exploit people. The masses are easily deceived by these slogans, as they are always in need of hope, and leaders take advantage of this need by using the game of liberation to secure their positions of power. However, true liberation can only be achieved through education, the spreading of knowledge, and the awakening of the masses. This requires time, effort, and patience, and it cannot be achieved by slogans or games. True liberation can only be achieved by empowering people and giving them the tools others to liberate themselves.
I kindly request that you click on the like and subscribe buttons, as well as leave a comment on the video so that we can improve the content quality. Don't forget to hit the bell button to receive notifications for new content. This is the Moel de Will channel. And of course, please support us by listening to our podcast. Thank you very much, everyone.
7. Moving from darkness to light. We witness the light in people's transformations from disbelief to faith, from ignorance to knowledge, from foolishness to wisdom, from misguidance to guidance, from animalism to humanity, from lust to reason, and from sin to repentance. I see this happening always through suffering and struggle, and it is born of pain, labor, and anguish. Speeches, sermons, and books cannot reform a person, nor can the prophet, peace be upon him, in his full presence, guide or bring out one soul from darkness into light, except by Allah's will indeed. You do not guide whom you love, but Allah guides whom He wills. Indeed, the most severely afflicted people are the prophets, and they all suffered from illness, poverty, orphanhood, persecution, murder, exile, displacement, and denial. Similarly, the saints, reformers, wise men, and honorable leaders, and the advocates of truth in every age, all suffered and their light shone through struggle. What a resemblance there is between coming out of darkness into light and surgery, cutting flesh, and the emergence of fetuses from the darkness of the wombs through painful labor, screaming, and agony. I remember that I have undergone many surgeries in my life, and their excruciating pains were linked to the growth of my contemplation and reflection on what I say and write. Allah's ways of reforming His servants are beyond enumeration. No one can define His mercy or limit His grace, but one of the wonders that result from contemplation is that poverty, illness, pain, struggle, and suffering are often the means of His mercy and the fountainhead of His grace. Whoever realizes this learns to submit to Allah's command and leaves the plan to Allah's will, and he adheres to proper manners with Allah, and does not object to deprivation and prevention, but rather thanks his Lord for prevention as he thanks Him for the gift. He may even fear the gift and fear temptation from it, and take refuge in prevention, seeing in it a favor. These are some of the secrets of divine cunning, which the knowers fear. May Allah make us among them and bring us out of our darkness into our light through pain and struggle, too, which the knowers fear. May Allah make us among them and bring us out of our darkness into our light through pain and struggle to the path of righteousness.